Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Critic Alex, aka Cynic Alex, and today I want to talk all about the Knighthood and the Knighthood boss, also known as the clan boss, also known as the whatever we want to call it, boss battle. Basically, this is the only piece of exclusive Alliance Guild content currently in the game that you're going to need to perform if you want to get really good rewards and if you also want to help your Alliance, your Knighthood grow. And you want to help your Alliance and your Knighthood, same thing, you want to help them grow because there are rewards for being at specific Knighthood ranks. So you can see the rewards here. You're probably not going to hit the top 3, but just being the top 1% is going to give you an extra 600 coins per week, and it goes down from there. Why do you want Knighthood coins? Well, you're going to be able to access a Knighthood shop once you are in a Knighthood, and then you can use those coins to swap for awakening materials, other awakening materials, pretty rare items like special things that you can't cook, special foods that you can't cook that do things like give you more red horns or more gray demon wings, SSR pendants, 5-star cups, and then the coveted 5-star awakening stones, ultra rare treasures for gold, and then 6-star awakening chalices, aka cups. So some really amazing things in the Knighthood shop. And of course, being part of an Alliance, being part of a Knighthood is going to improve your the quality of time that you spend in game. It's going to improve your gameplay. You're going to have more fun instead of just playing everything by yourself. Obviously, you can play everything by yourself if you want to. Oh, you also get check-in rewards for being part of a Knighthood. So you definitely, oh yeah, you get diamonds as well. You definitely, yeah, sure. You definitely want to be part of a Knighthood. In order to get to the stage where you can actually apply for Knighthood, you won't be able to do it right away. You need to complete chapter 6 of the main story. Right now, there are 7 chapters in the game. There was 5, and then a month ago, they added a 6th one, and then a couple weeks ago or a week ago, they added a 7th one, and they'll be adding an 8th one later on in the future. But you do have to complete the first 6 chapters before you get access to a Knighthood. And I won't spoil it for you, but you meet a particularly seductive magician, and she teaches you and she shows you all about Knighthoods. So there isn't really much to do as far as Knighthoods are concerned right now. This is the main hall for the Knighthood, which is cool because you get to walk around in your designated avatar. If you want to change this avatar really quickly, you go into your heroes menu, you choose another character, and then you click the crown. And it'll say designate this hero as the representative, and then you hit yes or hit okay. It's also the same for PvP, so you'll have that designated hero when you're running around the PvP zone. Here I'm running around the Knighthood zone. It's funny because when players are offline, they'll be sitting around at the table. I believe when they're online, they're actually standing there, but sometimes it's glitchy and players are online, but they're sitting down. But it's just it's really cute. I really like the way they've done this, and it gives it a real MMORPG feel. You can see the characters move around as if they're talking to each other. They're not just static, so it is really, really nice and interactive. Now, as far as the rest of the Knighthood stuff goes, you, of course, checking in is really important. Do that every day. Just check in. Literally just click the button to check in. That's all you got to do to check in. And then you get the rewards. You want to also donate to your Knighthood every day. Now, you can donate a maximum of 50 parts of each. You can either donate 50 of one, or what I like to do is I like to split them so that they're even and equal so that I don't run out, because I need these both for limit breaking. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So I leave myself with, so it's 33 and 17 just to balance them out, and I donate. Donating here gives your Knighthood XP. It gives you contribution to show that you're actually helping your Knighthood, and then it gives you coins. So I'm mainly doing it for the coins, but the XP is nice. If you are a super whale, you can even reset your contribution count with diamonds and then do it all over again. Some like top Knighthoods are going to require more than 50 donation per day, but 50 donation per day is really good. You can also see here, if you go over to manage, well, I can go over to manage because I'm the captain of the Knighthood, but you can see here that you have your weekly ranking, your contribution based on how much you've donated and how much you've done to the clan or the Knighthood boss. So the Knighthood boss is the next step, and this is where most of the content comes into play for the Knighthood. So this is actually a brand new piece of content that you can't access anywhere else. You're going to go over to this portal here, and you're going to click over here, and you're going to see this image. Now, originally when this came out, we only had the normal mode boss. Now we have the hard mode boss, and I believe, according to the JP server, we will get an extreme version in the future, which pretty much matches the normal hard extreme version that we have for things now, like Gray Demon, Red Demon, stuff like that. Why do you want to do the Knighthood boss? Well, your Knighthood boss score, which is your combined score from whatever you get in the first one and whatever you get in the second one, will contribute to your weekly contribution, which will push your Knighthood up to a higher ranking. We're in the top 0%, and you can get those weekly Knighthood coins. Additionally, if your weekly Knighthood activity reward in terms of how much damage you do to the bosses, if those scores cumulatively for everyone in your Knighthood reach a certain level, I don't know what the number of points is, but once it reaches a certain point, everyone in the Knighthood will get one SSR pendant. So every week I've been getting those 600 coins and one extra SSR pendant. So that's really good. It adds up, 4 extra SSR pendants a month. It keeps going on and on and on. On top of that, you can see down here in the corner, we have other rewards. Now, these rewards will climb as you get higher points, but you can see in these rewards that from the beginning, you'll get, I believe it is UR treasure chest, so aka gold, then you'll get SR pendants, then you'll get 5-star awakening stone, and then you will get 50 anvils. 50 anvils is really what you want to aim for. Anvils are they're premium because they're rare, but they're not actually premium in the sense that you don't actually have to pay money for them. They are basically the alternative to using premium currency to reroll SR, SSR, and UR gear substats. So right here, if I don't want this pierce rate or I don't like this 1.5% attack, it's too low, I have to pay diamonds, or I can pay 5 anvils. It's really important to stockpile these because once UR gear comes to global, you're going to want to use those anvils to make perfect UR gear with perfect substats or near perfect substats. And you don't want to be blowing hundreds or thousands of diamonds doing that. That's why anvils are so rare and so valuable and so important. So those are all the reasons why you want to get a good Knighthood boss battle score. Now, I recently made it to 1200 score. The last 2 weeks in a row, I fell short of 1200, so I didn't want to make this video until I could do that because I didn't feel qualified to give you this information. But now I will do my best to give you the information. So if you click into the boss battle, you will be presented with a regular screen where you can change your characters. You cannot use any characters from any other player. You can't borrow a character, so this is only using your roster. Unlike any of the other battles in 7 Deadly Sins, all 4 characters will be there simultaneously. You get 4 actions per turn, 1 for each of your character, and therefore you will also get more cards. So it can be a little bit overwhelming at first, but once you know what to do, and I'll explain it, you'll be much more prepared for it. So you can see from the little magnifying glass up in the corner, you have information on the boss. You can see the boss's combat class, so you obviously want to be above 80,000. If you're not there yet, then you need to start building your account fast. And it's a strength attribute, so ideally you can bring a blue character, but actually most players are being successful right now and having success using Jericho as the main damage dealer. She is a green type, she's HP type, so obviously she doesn't have advantage, she's a disadvantage, but it's not that big of a deal. The boss themselves, in both normal and hard, is not that challenging, is not that, it's easier than most story content if you've gotten through all of the story. But there are certain combinations that you have to do, and there are certain characters that you should bring, so that's what makes it hard. Every week at the bottom here, there will be missions that will give you additional points. Now, sometimes it's worthwhile to complete the missions, sometimes it's not. So, for example, clear with a human hero on the team. This is a really easy condition. So many characters are heroes, so many heroes are human, so you'll get an easy 10 points there. Use the ultimate move 3 times. This is basically impossible, because if the building up to your ult is going to take so many turns, and you're gonna have to do it 3 times, and if you do it 3 times, you're probably gonna kill the boss. Imagine ulting 3 times on a story mode level where the combat class is 80,000. You're gonna kill whoever's there after the second ult, let alone the third ult. So that's probably not gonna happen. And if you bring characters that are so weak that their ult does so little damage, they're probably going to die. Clear without eating a dish. Here you get a much larger point total, 35 points, but the problem here is eating a dish can actually make your clear time and your score at the end much better, much higher. So this one is sort of like a risk-reward type thing. You have to sort of analyze it. If you click here, you can see that there are other ways of scoring points. So this is essentially how the Knighthood boss works. You get points for doing things, and you lose points for losing HP, having a teammate die, and you also lose points for taking multiple turns. Every turn that you take will deduct a number of points. Obviously, you're going to have to take at least 2 or 3 turns. It's impossible to kill maybe it's not impossible, but it's hard to kill the beast on turn 1. So you're going to take, a minimum 3, I would say, minimum 3, 4, or 5 turns. I would say if the battle is lasting more than 5 turns, you should probably just forfeit. There's no entry cost, there's no stamina, there's no gold involved in doing this, so you can feel free to forfeit and retry as many times as you want. So here I'm going to give you an example of a very strong composition team for this. Now, usually people use Helbram, but essentially what you're trying to do with the boss is you're trying to stack a ton of buffs on one high damage character and then slap the boss right at the end with that super high damage character with your ultimate move. So for a lot of players, they tend to use Jericho because Jericho has a very high damage dealing ultimate move, and it does ×2 crit damage. So if you stack her crit damage to, let's say, 200 or 250%, it'll multiply to 400 or 450%. If she crits on a move that deals 500 to 700 damage of her attack stat, and it deals, then you multiply that crit by 200 or 400 or 6 whatever percentage, you're going to get a very, very high number. So yes, an ult with spike damage is ideal for this boss. The rest of the characters here are being brought to basically support your main DPS. That's essentially what it comes down to. So Gilthunder's there to provide the attack buff to Jericho. Gustav is here for the level 2 or level 3 freeze, which will give you increased damage on the following attack, 80% or 200%. You can obviously sub in Gustav for Red Merlin, but it's basically this here, this additional 80% or additional 200%. And then a lot of people use Helbram or Red Arthur here. Again, Helbram is giving you the attack-related buffs. So that's attack, crit rate, crit damage, and something else. And then, of course, Arthur is giving you that flat attack, defense, HP buff. I'm going to bring in Merlin just to show you guys that all buffs matter in some form. And you can also experiment with things like playing with the ultimate meter of the boss if you're dying too often. But let's just jump into the match now so you can see kind of what happens and you can sort of understand what to expect. Normal boss is going to become easy for you as you get a hold on what to do, and easy in the sense that you can kill the boss easily, but then difficult in the sense that you're going to want to set up your kill more, more specifically and with more care. Hard boss may be challenging for you. Even now, it is challenging for me. For hard boss, you probably want to bring in very strong characters, and you want to just try to kill the boss. Hard boss is going to require multiple ults, whereas this one, I can kill him without using any ults. So here you can see I have 4 skills and I have 8 cards. So I want to build up to a level 2 or 3 freeze, so I don't want to use that freeze now. You also can't use Petrify or Freeze on the boss. They cleanse at the end of every turn. If you investigate the boss, you'll also see that they have buffs. These buffs will make it harder for you to do damage, so you want to take them off. You take off the buffs by dealing damage to the boss. Pretty straightforward. You can see the boss's passives here, and you can also see the boss's attacks. It's not that much damage, so you don't have to worry too much about dying. But if you are dying, then you may have to bring a healer in until you can build up your characters to, 4, 5, 6 stars awakened, and, limit break to 65, limit break to 70. So here I want to build up Jericho's ult, and I also want to build up her crit chance passive. So I'm going to double attack with Jericho. I'm going to bleed into Flash so I get the extra damage. Then I want to Perfect Cube to protect my team with Merlin. It's also going to add a buff. And then I want to dump one of Gustav's cards, so hopefully I can get another Gustav card that will give me some more freeze. So you're going to see it happen now, and you're going to see over here, it's going to give you these sort of stats. These stats are points. So everything you do will give you a point. Even if you skip your turn by pressing down and sort of skipping that action, that will give you points. Also, if you combine cards or you move cards around, that will also give you points. So I can show you a really easy example here. Basically, literally everything you do will give you points. If I were to purify his debuff here, that will give me points. If I bleed him, that also gives me points, etc. So here you're going to see I'm going to get a point for playing a 1-star card, and then I'm going to get another point for combining these cards. There we go, combine skills to rank them up. So that's basically how it goes. If I click this, I'm going to get a point for using that. It's not necessarily a good strategy to do this. I'm just showing you guys that it's possible and that basically everything does give you points. If you're ever curious how you're doing in terms of points, you can go over here to the right side and you can click on this box and you can investigate. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do to get points, but essentially, like the ultimate goal that you're trying to achieve with the Knighthood boss is you're trying to build up one very strong ult for one character, like one character that has a really, really strong ult. So the Liz Hawks have really high ults because they have just high base damage. Escanor has really high ult damage. Jericho has really high ult damage with, of course, the double crit damage. So characters like that, you want to... So one of your goals is to build up that character's ult and sort of put them in a position to ult in the 3rd or 4th turn. For the other characters that are there to support that ult, you're trying to buff up that character's ult, you're trying to protect the team from taking damage, because all of that is going to decrease from your score, and then you're trying to slam the boss. You actually want to decrease the boss's health before you slam the boss, because slam the boss at the end with the ult. Because as I showed you, the boss has, crit resistance. So if you're trying to crit and the boss has crit resistance, there's a good chance you're not going to crit. You can also eat crit chance food or crit damage food, which again sort of plays into the strategy of, do you want those extra 35 points for not eating a meal, or do you want to actually guarantee yourself that? So we're actually getting really lucky with cards here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to combine to a level 3. This is going to guarantee Jericho's ult. And then we are going to... does this deal shock damage? It doesn't. Okay. So we're just going to do this here. And we're going to see what happens. We can almost get a level 3 freeze, which is really nice. So let's see how much damage... I don't think this is going to do that much damage. Yeah, because we don't have the debuff active. So that actually wasn't the best idea. But anywho, I'll be able to... Oh my god, we get a level 3 freeze. I haven't gotten a level 3 freeze in ages. So I might actually get a better score this time. This is pretty funny. So this is basically what your strategy boils down to. So I'm going to move this card over here so I can combine to a level 3 freeze. I'm going to drop the Gilthunder buff for Jericho, of course. Then the level 3 freeze, of course, for Jericho's ult. And then Jericho's ult. If Jericho crits, we have a much higher chance of getting a high score. But this is a bad situation for me in a way because, yeah, we didn't crit. Because the boss had so much HP. What I should have done, or if I had gotten a little bit luckier, I could have bled the boss and dealt more damage with like a level 2 flash strike instead of a level 3 flash strike. It gives you some information here. But essentially, dealing high damage at the very end of the fight in excess of 100,000 will give you additional score towards your battle score. There's a whole list of things you can do, and there are videos that go into more depth and detail in terms of breaking that down. But essentially, what all of the strategies boil down to is just that, is building up one character's ult, and then buffing that character like crazy, and then slamming the boss. In the meantime, you want to chip the boss's health down to like 5 or 10%, but RNG is a cruel mistress, and sometimes you just don't get the cards. One character that I can't show you guys, I can't reference and sort of highlight, showcase at all, is of course Red Gowther. Red Gowther is probably the best support character for this because you can turn any level 1 freeze into a level 2 freeze for Gustav. You can turn her skills into level 2. You can turn the Gilthunder buff into level 2 or level 3. So Gowther is by far the easiest way to reduce the amount of RNG that you have in these fights. But I definitely think that Gustav or Red Merlin is absolutely 100% essential. It's not a character that you can choose to not bring if you want to get a high score. And then I think one buff character like a Helbram or a Gilthunder is also necessary. And then one super high damage ult. And then the last one is really up to you. I would say that Red Gowther is the best option, but if you don't have Red Gowther, then a second buff character, so like swapping her with Helbram or swapping her with a healer, like let's say Red Elizabeth or Green Princess Elizabeth. Green Princess Elizabeth can be really good as well because she gives ulti-meter, so you can guarantee your ult on a certain turn when she ults first. So you have a lot of options available to you, but that's basically the gist of the Knighthood boss. That's for normal. Hard is, as you guessed it, a little bit harder. You can see the combat class goes up by 40,000. So here you have to be a little bit more serious. I would not bring this team in because for one, my CC is way too low, but for two, they're not going to survive. Usually the hard boss fight lasts 4 or 5 turns rather than 3 or 4 turns for me. I usually bring in a full team of gangsters to do this. So it would be something like, I think something along this lines was the team that I used. And I generally use this team rather than the Jericho team for me specifically because my blue Hawk Elizabeth, I've gotten tons of her dupes through pulling and failing to get Gowther. So I'm able to have her with a level 4 ult. Like I said, the Red Elizzes are a good alternative to Jericho if you don't have them built up because most of the Red Eliz Hawks, or I believe all of them, have charge, which will ignore the boss's defense. So you can do a lot more damage that way. You just don't have the crit chance, crit damage spike of the Jericho ult. For now. So, or, you know, in that case. So let me know what you guys think of the Knighthood boss and the battle and the sort of strategy that you have to employ. If you have specific questions or if you have tips that I missed, definitely leave them down below in the comments. There's lots of players that play this game that are really, really good at it and have a lot more knowledge than I do because they've been playing for longer. So definitely don't hesitate to talk to them and we can just collaborate and bring all the information together because all I ultimately want to do is make everyone a better player. Thanks so much for watching. Share the video if you enjoyed it. Maybe subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.